I found out my boyfriend had been two-timing me with some chick for a solid 2 years. I was like, no way, this can't be happening. So, I decided to hit up her fiance. I was all, let's get some payback on these cheaters. But guess what? That led to a total plot twist. He ended up knocking me up. I'm a 26-year-old woman, and let me tell you, finding out I'm pregnant after that revenge-fueled hookup with this 35-year-old guy, the fiancé of the 30-year-old girl my 32-year-old ex had been cheating with, was a shocker. My ex and I met when I was 20. We were just friends back then, hanging out, but we didn't start dating until 2.5 years ago. Last year, boom, I discovered my ex had been cheating on me pretty much since day one of our relationship. He met this other girl through a mutual friend, and they'd been having an affair behind my back. As soon as I found out, I was like, that's it, we're done. I broke things off and then spilled the beans to the girl's fiancé about their affair. He was devastated, of course, and called off their engagement. At first, she seemed like she didn't give a hoot, but then she realized my ex was a total phony. My grandma left me a nice chunk of change in 2019, and my ex had been showing off all the stuff I'd bought him with that money to this other girl. He was even bragging that the house and antique car my grandpa left me were his. Looking back, I feel so stupid for letting him walk all over me in the first month or two after we broke up. I missed him like crazy, you know how it is. I was giving him money, trying to make things work, but every time I'd run to my parents or friends crying, they'd be like, "What are you doing? He's a loser." After he ghosted me for her, I was a mess. I didn't really give up on him until the girl's ex-fiancé messaged me. He told me she was going around to their old friends, talking about how pathetic I was and how desperate I was for my ex, who clearly didn't care about me at all. I was so upset. I asked him if we could meet up. I knew if I talked to my parents or friends, they'd just lecture me again. He said yes, and we met at this random food truck park. We ended up spending the whole day just walking around, chatting about how we were both doing. He opened up to me about his relationship with his ex. They'd known each other for 10 years and had liked each other for most of that time, but he was focused on school, so he didn't want a relationship. Then, one night, she drove 12 hours straight to see him when he was feeling sick and stressed from his crazy residency schedule. She cleaned his place, cooked him home-cooked meals, and took care of him. He told me had never felt so loved. After that, he decided she was the one. Finding out she'd been cheating on him for 2 years just made everything click. She'd been putting off getting married, telling her friends she had doubts about him. Had been trying to convince her to go to couples counseling. When I told him she was sleeping with my ex, I felt like the worst person in the world. Hearing their love story and then realizing it all fell apart because of my ex really messed with my head. We kept in touch, checking in on each other and meeting up for a bite every now and then. But then, out of the blue, we lost contact. Turns out, the girl my ex cheated on me with somehow managed to convince him to take her back. I was pretty bummed when he cut me off, saying he was still in love with her and wanted to give their relationship another shot. I did some internet sleuthing and found out my ex had cheated on her too. That's why she went back to her ex-fiancé. A few months passed, and things were starting to feel semi-normal again. I started seeing a therapist and was ready to dip my toes back into the dating pool. Then, around New Year's, I got a call from him. He was crying, asking if we could talk. Of course, I said yes. I was worried about him, so I met him at his place. He broke down and told me how he'd found her and my ex in his mom's guest bedroom during Christmas. His family was having this huge holiday party, and she'd snuck my ex in for a quick hookup. We were both so angry and hurt. We had a few drinks, and before we knew it, one thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together. Afterward, he apologized, saying it was a mistake and he wasn't in his right mind. He just wanted revenge sex, but it didn't make him feel any better. I tried messaging him a few times to see if he was okay, but he blocked me. So I was like, fine, I'll just focus on myself and my therapy. Last week, I went to the doctor because I was having bad cramps and needed a refill for my birth control, which I used to manage my PCOS. They did the usual pregnancy test, and I about fell off my chair when it came back positive. I've been sitting on this news, totally torn. Should I tell him? Should I keep the pregnancy? The doctor said I'm still in the early stages, and there's a high risk of miscarriage. So, I'm like, do I even worry about this now? I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to get his attention, especially since he made it clear he didn't want to talk to me after we slept together. I haven't told anyone, and am going crazy trying to figure out what to do. 1 year and 3 months later. A whole lot has gone down since my original post. I know a lot of people were against me keeping the pregnancy, but I decided to go through with it, and I couldn't be more grateful for my beautiful baby. At first, I planned to get an abortion, but when it came down to it, I just couldn't do it. I'm pro-choice, and I always will be. Just because I chose to keep my baby doesn't mean every woman should. Everyone has the right to do what's best for their own body. My parents were super pissed. They completely disowned me. I listened to some of you and decided to tell the father, who I'll call Dave. After trying a bunch of times to reach him and failing, I finally went to his place in person. Dave wasn't too happy to see me at first, but when I told him why I was there, he agreed to talk. He said had officially broken up with his ex and wanted to cut ties with me because I was a reminder of his past with her. But he was willing to work out a co-parenting plan if I agreed to a paternity test first. I was a little hurt by the paternity test thing, but I got it. We were just two people who'd bonded over our messed up situations. Everything was going pretty smoothly until I started spotting around the 26-week mark. My OB/GYN said spotting can be normal during pregnancy, but mine was heavier and my blood sugar and blood pressure were also a concern because of the risk of gestational diabetes and preeclampsia. Dave was so sweet. He insisted on sleeping on my couch for a few nights to make sure I was okay. Then he helped me move some of my things to his place since he lived closer to the hospital. I'm so glad I did. I went into premature labor at 32 weeks. I'm so thankful for Dave and his family. His mom was like an angel. She'd come to the hospital and take over for Dave, making sure I was okay. She advocated for me when I felt like no one was listening. She helped me both emotionally and physically. She's a retired nurse. She started in OB, then worked in the NICU, and eventually became a lactation consultant before retiring. She explained everything to me when we found out our baby had respiratory problems and a single umbilical artery which could have caused my premature labor. She helped me with pumping when I couldn't produce milk. She encouraged me when I felt like a failure for not being able to take care of my son right away. She drove me to and from the hospital while my son was in the NICU because I was so exhausted, both mentally and physically. I really think I didn't fall into a deep postpartum depression because of her. She was always there, telling me it wasn't my fault. My son came home from the NICU a month after I did. Dave's mom visited us all the time to help out. Dave's dad would joke that it seemed like she and I had the baby together, and he and Dave were just sidekicks. Dave was working his butt off to build up his PTO. Dave's mom didn't bring his dad along when she visited because he's hard of hearing and can be really loud. He didn't take it personally. Dave's siblings and other family members posted a ton of pictures of our son. He was the first grandchild and the first baby in the family in a long time. Somehow, pictures of us reached my family. My parents demanded to meet my son. Dave was super supportive, saying he'd go along with whatever I decided. After thinking about it for a few days, I decided to talk to my parents before letting them meet my son. When we met, my parents were so rude. They were mad that I didn't bring my son with me and had left him with Dave's parents. They said some really hurtful things. Then my dad started asking when Dave was going to ask for his permission to marry me, like we should have had a shotgun wedding when I was pregnant. I could take their insults, but when they started bad-mouthing Dave and his family, I was like, that's it, we're out of here. My parents tried to get legal visitation rights. I didn't even know grandparents' rights were a thing before this. But they were denied because our son was still really young, and Dave and I were getting along great, living in the same house. My family tried to reach out and say we were terrible for denying my parents access to their grandchild. But whenever Dave's family defended us, they pointed out that my family had disowned me and didn't care about me until after I had the baby. Dave's mom and my mom had a huge fight. My mom made false reports to CPS and called the police for multiple welfare checks. The police gave my mom a warning for harassing us after she threw a tantrum when they found nothing wrong during a welfare check. Dave and I now have restraining orders pending against my parents and some of my family members. 2 months ago, A friend of Dave's asked him out for drinks. They ran into his ex-fiance. She messaged him later, saying she regretted how they ended things and was really hurt to hear he had a baby together, especially so soon after their breakup. Dave didn't want to talk to me about how he felt. Whenever I asked, had brushed me off or changed the subject to our son. I noticed he was pulling away from me. Our relationship got really awkward. I knew he still had feelings for her, and I was worried he felt stuck with me and our son. I also felt like the drama with my family was making Dave and his family less patient with me and our son. On Mother's Day, I overheard some of Dave's family members saying I didn't really belong at their family barbecue since I was just my son's mom, not part of the family. Dave just shrugged and said I didn't have anyone else to spend the day with. Things were so tense that I started thinking about moving out. I thought it would give Dave some space to date again, if he wanted to. I also wanted to get back to work and be more independent. I wanted to approach the topic of moving out and creating a co-parenting plan without making things worse. Maybe I'm overthinking things. I've been trying not to check my phone because I'm really overwhelmed. I talked to Dave. He was dead set against me moving out. He also didn't want to talk about how had been acting since running into his ex. He said I was bringing up something that didn't matter when we were discussing my moving out. I haven't mentioned what I heard on Mother's Day, and I don't think I will. It was a private conversation, and I don't think they meant anything bad. Dave told me I was probably overthinking or overreacting and that I shouldn't make a big decision like moving out. He also said that because our son was a preemie, he'd prefer one of us stay home until he was 2 or 3, so he could catch up with other kids. Then we could both go back to work when he started pre-K. But I feel like he's been avoiding me since our conversation. Maybe I'm overthinking, like he said. But after reading some comments, I think my feelings are valid. I just don't know anymore. I want to do what's best for my son. I know some people think I was stupid to have him, but I'm trying my best for him. He's all the family I have left. 9 months after last update and 2 years after original post. I'm not sure if anyone really cares about this update, but here it is anyway. After my last post, things were awkward between Dave and me for a few weeks. Then Father's Day came around. I didn't really want to go to his aunt's house for the family gathering because of what I'd overheard on Mother's Day. But I went because it was Dave's first Father's Day. Dave actually brought up the topic after we got home. He confessed that his cousins had grilled him on Father's Day too, just like they did on Mother's Day, about bringing me to family events. He apologized for making me worry and not standing up for me when his family talked about me behind my back. He said he really didn't want me to move out or split custody of our son. He liked coming home to both of us after a long day at work. I told him I didn't want to ruin Father's Day, and we could talk about it later. But Dave was determined to clear the air because he was tired of the tension between us. Surprisingly, Dave said he was worried I felt stuck with him. He saw how tough it was for me to go through premature labor, deal with our son in the NICU, and heal postpartum. He also felt bad about how my family treated me and how some of his family members held it against me. He made it clear that he wanted us to see if we could build a relationship, but he didn't want to pressure me. He said he'd be okay if we just had a friendly relationship with mutual respect, as long as it was good for our son. We talked for a long time and cleared up all our questions. Dave told me he didn't have any feelings for his ex-fiance. The reason had been distant was that he was having a midlife crisis. He realized his life was very different from what had imagined. Dave and I decided that I and our son would stay with him. I did get a part-time job to ease back into the workforce. At first, it was a bit strange to navigate our relationship. But Dave's parents helped us a lot with our son. When I started looking for a job, I got a part-time position at a local bank near Dave's place. Slowly, Dave and I started exploring our relationship. It was weird because of how we met, but after 3 or 4 months, things got much better. I moved my things from our son's room into Dave's. Our son had a hard time at first when Dave and I started showing more affection. He was jealous because he was used to getting all our attention, but he's gotten used to it now. Dave's family has jokingly said we should give our son a sibling, but I'm not ready to talk about having more kids yet. I joined a mommy and me group so our son has some playmates his age. But sometimes I feel guilty that he might be lonely at home with just Dave and me. On Valentine's Day, in the heat of the moment, Dave made some comments about wanting to get me pregnant again. But when I brought it up later, he said he was just caught up in the moment. Dave and I had previously talked about my pose. I'd been feeling better since having our son, so we decided not to put me back on birth control. Instead, we've been using the calendar method. I've asked Dave if he'd use condoms, but he said he hates the feeling of latex, and it's a no-go. We've had 2 pregnancy scares already. Sometimes, Dave forgets to pull out. He says if I get pregnant again, it won't change much, except I might have to quit my job and stay home. But I'm not ready for that. Our son is turning 2 later this year, and it's already a handful to manage 1 child with our schedules. I don't know how we'd handle 2. Dave and I are in a really good place right now. I don't want to ruin the peace by bringing up contraception all the time. I've been thinking about going back on the pill or exploring other options, but I'm scared it will mess with my hormones and my mental health. If anyone has any suggestions, please let me know. Thanks a ton for all your support and kind words. My life has changed for the better, and I'm truly grateful. Let's add a little more plot here. A few weeks after the Valentine's Day incident, Dave comes home one day, looking really stressed. He tells the narrator that he's been offered a really great job opportunity in another city. It's a huge promotion, but it would mean moving away. He's torn because he doesn't want to disrupt their newfound family life, but he also doesn't want to pass up this amazing career chance. This throws a new wrench into their relationship and forces them to have some really serious conversations about their future together. They start to explore options like long-distance co-parenting if Dave takes the job or if the narrator and their son could potentially move with him. The narrator is also worried about leaving her new job and the support system she's built in their current city. This new development adds another layer of complexity to their already complicated situation.